Hello and welcome to the Vivifier. My name is Crystal Denise Garcia, and today I am very excited. We have Elizabeth Wilson with us. Now, Elizabeth is an author, philosopher, and spiritual teacher specializing in the human process of enlightenment. Her work centers on the metaphysical and energetic craft of maintaining enlightened mind and using gentle philosophy and vibrational transmission through word. She helps people embody their truth regardless of the collective turmoil and strife. Elizabeth is the creator and author of Sovereign, A Way of Enlightenment, a framework of spiritual thought and philosophical curriculum for life mastery. She is also a voice artist, a mindset medicine practitioner at Longevity Wellness Clinic in Bradenton, consciousness researcher at Kerin School of Thought, and game master at Sovereign Masters. She believes every human soul deserves to enjoy the journey of becoming, and that when you know the difference between the essence of universal flow and the structure of illusion, you become the unicorn version of yourself, which so awesome. Elizabeth, I'm so excited to have you on. What an amazing, amazing wisdom that you have with you. So thank you so much for being here, first off. And so tell us a little bit, like, this is amazing. What brought you to this type of experience? Or was this just kind of always part of your framework, or did you discover it, or how did that work?
Wow. Thank you, first of all, for that introduction. It's one thing seeing it on paper, and it's another thing hearing someone else formulate it in their voice and repeat it
Mm,
back to you. And honestly, I think that it doesn't matter how many times we receive a reflection or an affirmation from someone else, it always takes us a little bit by surprise to be able to receive that in that way. So thank you for listing my accolades for me. It
oh,
always
yes.
feels a little bit good to have that reflection back again. It is an incredible wisdom that is held in Sovereign, and how I came about it, Crystal, is the way that all of us come about our wisdom. And that is by participating in presence and in poise with life. It doesn't mean never misstepping. It doesn't mean not walking in error or falling into illusion or surrendering to addiction or whatever else it might be that rocks us in life. It doesn't mean that, but it means being close to the remembering of truth, which is self-love.
Mm.
That's where our wisdom comes from, because then we can take all of those lessons and we can take all of the horrendous happenings, the traumas and the dramas, and we can remember the truth that's hidden inside of them. And that's where the lessons are, and that's where growth comes from. So it's by participation in life that wisdom comes. And we're all born with a superpower, at least one, most of us many. And mine happens to be that I'm very good at formulating. I'm very good at understanding and formulating, which means that although many people are wonderful at embodying the highest levels of wisdom that they attain in life, what I'm good at is understanding how they relate to the real human experience, and then tying the dots together and formulating it in a way that makes sense for others. So I was blessed with a gift, like many people are a natural piano player or a natural fishmonger. I'm a natural philosopher. And that means that I'm good at understanding things and saying it. And that makes me a good teacher of truth. And what I've been able to do is witness my own participation in life. And I've known how to transpose that for my clients and for cultural transcendence of cultural boundaries, so we can see the same journey repeating in history. I'm not the first one to have done this, of course. Famously, we have Joseph Campbell, who wrote The Hero's Journey. Many mystics over the ages have seen what the meaning appears to be emerging through universal creativity, and drawn it together in a way that people can receive it and gain wisdom from that. And Sovereign is such a thing. It's a framework. It's a way of looking at the universe and understanding creation and life and where we fit into it. And it's also a collection of 8 life masteries of vibrational ontology. That's one of the words that you listed in my remarkable
Love
resume.
Love that word. Could you let the listeners know what is ontology?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Ontology is the branch of philosophy that deals specifically with the process of becoming, the process of being. And vibrational ontology is to append to that process way of thinking about becoming in life, to append to that the knowing that becoming in life is not just through thought, but also in vibration. That really participating in life is a full body experience. It's every part of our mind, our bodies, and our energies and emotions. And so the natural, but what vibrational ontology really speaks to is the natural ascension of consciousness and the consequent shift in vibrational reality that comes with that ascension of consciousness. And that's enlightenment. That's the illumination of human spiritual maturation. That's what vibrational ontology is. It's a method for altering your coordinates of knowing. What am I knowing right now? I am knowing shame. I am knowing embarrassment. I am knowing stuckness. I am knowing boredom. To shift that knowing, regardless of the circumstances, into something more like, I am knowing lightness. I am knowing freedom. I am knowing self-love. So that's vibrational ontology, the craft of shifting that whole state of being. It's more than changing your thoughts. That's one small part of it. It's more than changing your emotion too. Emotion is a biological thing. We're talking about a state of being. So it's more than what we might find in our positive thinking memes in our Facebook feed. It's much deeper than that. It's quantum. It's shifting your consciousness. That's what vibrational ontology is. And sovereign is a graceful way of doing that in order to experience more illumination, more clarity, more truth, and more love in a sequential way. You know what I found, Crystal? One thing that I discovered on my journey was that, oh my gosh, as soon as I said one thing, I discovered on my journey about 8 billion things that I discovered came crashing in. And I'm like, which one was it that I wanted to point to? I've immediately forgotten the exact one it was. But let me tell you, though, that on my journey, like, it's my belief that suffering, pain, struggle is a sacred part of life. And I think we're all handed it in equal measure. And I think we all have different ways of choosing how to engage with those challenges. But I don't think it's possible for us to ever engage in sort of discussions about whose hardship is hardest, right? You think you've had it bad. Boy, I've had it way worse than you. I don't believe that's possible, because I have seen in my life and in my work with my clients over time that pain and suffering comes in such a diverse set of circumstances. I have been with highly privileged people who were born with every qualifier that we would place on you should have a great life. And boy, have they suffered. And I've met with people who had absolutely nothing and who also suffered. So I've met with people who have no body issues at all, incredible health, but they've suffering in the mind. Right. People who have terrible bodies, who are all broken down into little bits, but it doesn't seem to bother them, but they have spiritual woes. You know, so it really isn't about what are the circumstances of your pain. It's not really about that. And we have wonderful practitioners in life who can help us rearrange our circumstances, behavior management, emotional management, declutter your house, do physical therapy. There are all kinds of things we can do in life to rearrange those circumstances and make a little bit more room for freedom. But if fundamentally we haven't come home to self-acceptance, then there's always going to be that part of us that is suffering. because that's the part of us that knows it's broken. I am knowing that I am broken in some way, shape, or form. Right? That's where the suffering comes from. So that means that you can do all the physical therapy and all the behavioral therapy, and you can do all the decluttering, but the suffering will find another way to manifest. That's why we need to be sovereign, to be liberated, free from all of those qualifiers that we think that we need to attain. And those qualifiers change from culture to culture, which is why it's so difficult for a lot of us to find where we fit in. Because no culture on the earth, no family, no group in Facebook, no community is going to hold as its core value the exact qualifiers that qualify you. That's something that you need to hold in your sovereign mind, regardless of what's going on in the community around you.
Absolutely.
Community is a way to help us find those qualifiers, isn't it? It's a way to reflect back. I can sit with you and I can see this beautiful being with an incredible radiance, an incredible story, incredible wisdom. And I know that that's true for me, because that's what I can see over here opposite me. Oh, I am gorgeous, aren't I? I can tell by looking at you.
Aww, so sweet.
Yeah. So that's that's where that's come from.
That's absolutely beautiful. And I love how you say, because you said something earlier about making this accessible, because I think people, when they hear the term enlightenment, they kind of think it's for like Buddha or Jesus or some other, figure, the Dalai Lama. That's not for everybody, and it means something so lofty. Because, like you had said earlier, it doesn't mean that you don't mess up. It doesn't mean that there aren't addictions. It doesn't mean all of these things. It just means like the definition that you said. So, what would you say to those people who feel like, oh, enlightenment's something so far away, or it means you have to be perfect and all of this other stuff? And like, what would be the first steps that people could start to realize that it's not perfection? The enlightenment
I
is.
am so glad you asked that. I'm so glad you asked that. And I hear you. I hear you. We've been told for millennia that we are separate from that state of being, of total remembering, of complete integration, of absolute self-acceptance. And we've been told over and over and over again that that's not what we are. We aren't that. We're broken, destroyed, sinful, embarrassing, a little too much, not quite enough, but in some way we're broken. And that's what's imprinted in our knowing of ourselves. So I hear you when someone can come along and say that you could have enlightenment, that you could be enlightened. It doesn't sound altogether sane. It sounds it
And
really
so many
doesn't.
have abused that too. I mean, we see so many
Yes.
people who've abused that, so it's kind of pushed it even further for a lot of
Yeah,
people.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You know what? I think that a solution to that is to bring our understanding about the universe, about God, about reality, to bring our understanding away from this like linear idea of heaven and earth, of God and man, of up and down. I'm ascending in my consciousness. To move away from that idea, given that we all know it's not truth, we all know that the universe is quantum. We understand that now, don't we? We've arrived at that point where we know that we're all part of in the microcosm, beyond the atoms. We know that we are connected in essence. We know that we are part of the same fabric of love and benevolence. We know that. And so I think it helps to think about enlightenment, not as not as an award you get. Well done. You are no longer in any way broken. You are simple.
Right.
You have won. Here are your wings. You may come in now. Instead of thinking
Good
about it like
checklist
that.
for the human experience. Good human. Good job.
Good job, human. You don't now. You didn't achieve it. You have to go back and try again. If we can move away from that visual way of relating to enlightenment. And I think it has served for a long time. It has served
Right.
the human mind um, uh, to have that framework to relate to. But I think that now we are ready to not relate to God, to truth, but be in relation with it, be in relation with God, be in relation with love, with truth, with sovereignty of mind. And that means that we acknowledge that the universe is always becoming. That's what's happening. There's an underlying creative agency in the universe that prevents entropy. It keeps our expansion contained in a process of becoming, a fractal unfolding. And that means that enlightenment is not a thing. It's an experience. It's a process to be more enlightened, more illumined, to be in possession of more truth, to be an expression of more love. And it doesn't end. It goes on and on and on. And when you have a structure, when you have a framework like sovereign, then you're walking a conscious path of illumination, which means that you have an ascending experience of love and mastery in your life. And it takes our spiritual practice a step further. You know, there is good and truth in all spiritual teaching and all spiritual practice and all science and all religion and all theology and all philosophy and all of politics. There is a nugget of truth and love in it.
Yeah.
But unless there is some underlying meaning that is benevolent and progressive, then we can be lost in picking random
Absolutely.
cherries.
Absolutely.
I've got to do this yoga practice. I've got to go on this mushroom ceremony. I've got to do this dance thing. I've got to go to Bora Bora. I'm not going to have peace until I meditate in a cave in India. It's endless, the seeking,
Yes.
the seeking of self-love. But if we can descend into self-love in a systematic and progressive way, and appreciate that self-love is an evolution, not a thing. It's not a thing. It's an
Right.
evolution, a growth. Oh my goodness, how we fall in love with ourselves, honestly. One of the most transformational things in my life was when I was holding my daughter Penelope. And when she was a newborn, and I was looking into her eyes, and I thought to myself, she has no idea what she's becoming, and nobody knows what she's becoming. But isn't it sacred that she is? Isn't it sacred that she
Wow,
is?
that's beautiful.
And what a travesty if she grows up to not know how sacred her becoming is. Isn't that a travesty? And then I realized, Crystal, if it's true for her, then it's true for me, because I was someone's baby once as well.
Yeah.
And I think I suddenly realized that it's okay to be all kinds of messed up and jacked up and broken. And that's where self-acceptance kind of was a little seed. I had a place to germinate then.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that for me too has been such an important piece. It's like before I was like, oh, I messed up. Oh my God, I messed up. And it's like, all right, I messed up. Okay. Let's self-congratulate for a couple seconds and then enough. Like we don't have to sit in this. And more I'm learning that I don't have to, that punishment doesn't grow me. Self-love grows me. That's where my lessons are learned. And so you speak of the eight sovereign masteries. What is that? Can you tell us about more about these? The remembering, the recognizing, release,
Yes.
expansion.
Yes.
So that's amazing. Like what is, if you could tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Absolutely. So you'll remember that I spoke on vibrational ontology as a method of changing one state of knowing into another state of knowing.
Mm-hmm.
And now let's use an example. Let's say, for example, if anyone's ever been to a Tony Robbins event,
Mm-hmm.
and you come in thinking this is going to be good, this is he's a motivational guy, and that's how you go in with a mindset. You're in a state of being of expectation, maybe a little skepticism, certainly hope and interest. And that's your cocktail. That's the cocktail of who you are in that moment. And that governs your thoughts, it governs your feelings, it governs the thoughts you can access. It governs also, therefore, the relationships you can form. And it governs also the choices that you make. So there's a lot wrapped up in the state of being that you're in when you approach anything. But then by the end of that event, when you leave, that guy has changed your state of being and you're leaving there pumped. You're a badass. You're a total winner. You're going to win this and you're going to win that, and you can do it whenever you want because you're a powerful, manifesting co-creator. It's a different state of mind. It's a different vibrational point of attraction. It's a different vibrational framework for opportunity. And things are going to seem very different to you. You're going to see opportunity everywhere because we see what we know, right? Our life is a projection of what we know. That's always true. So what Tony Robbins has done is he's used the method vibrational ontology, whether he calls it that or not. That's what he's done to alter their state of mind. Now, anyone can learn the methods for shifting their psycho-pneumosomatic vibrational state. That's mental, soulful, spiritual, and bodily state of vibration, right? That's what that means. Anyone can do that. So motivation, that's Tony Robbins, that's his bag. Enlightenment, that's the sovereign bag. That's what we do. And there are 8 core applications of vibrational ontology that you will need if you are going to be someone who wishes to gracefully participate in their enlightenment. I'm going to use the word gracefully again. Everybody is on the journey of illumination. Everybody's growing up. Everybody's going home to God. Everybody's saved. Everybody is participating in the process of more and more goodness. But you can do it through karma. You can do it through agony. You can do it through conquest, all kinds of ways up the mountain. And the sovereign way is graceful.
Yes.
So if you can embody these 8 masteries, these 8 ways of using vibrational ontology to change your state of being, then you will always have access to grace, which means that obstacles will dissolve. It means that risks can be taken with much more confidence because you know you're held aloft by a frequency that transcends the structures of your past. It transcends your paradigms. It transcends your traumas. It means it's okay for you to be broken. You're still going to get there. Unlike a karmic system where you need to rectify all those ills in order to deserve your enlightenment. In that system, it's very difficult to transcend patterns. But in the sovereign system, it's very easy because it uses grace as its foundation. And these 8 masteries are ways that you shift your state of being back to grace. So incredibly effective. And we've seen with our clients, we train our clients on how to do this. And what they find is that the years they spent in counseling overcome. Addictions they've held for decades overcome. And now I have to be careful when I speak on this because it is the embodiment of grace that does the overcoming. Right. So it is to the extent that one is able to hold grace for so long that these structures do fall away. That's the healing. That's the healing. The vibrational ontology, sovereign, that's how you align with that healing. So, our clients accelerate their results because of that, because it's not quite so linear anymore. There's a way to quantum leap because we're working in consciousness. So, I'm so super proud of it. It's really done some amazing work.
It's amazing. I mean, and I've seen your videos and everything, just the energy. And I mean, everybody can see here now if they're watching you on YouTube. It's just, you just have this amazing energy and it's just very sweet and it's always just overflowing. Like, just just pouring through. So appreciate that. Now you have your own personal survivor story. Can you tell us about that? Because you've been through it.
Yeah, man, I have been through it. Well, you know how I said in the beginning that everyone has their suffering, everyone's got their brokenness. Mine is not in body. I have a very strong body, and it's not an emotion. I'm a very balanced person. Um, it is in the mind. You know, it is in the cultural identities of all of my fractured pieces of the soul. Who am I? Why am I here? How can this be true, and how can that be true? And with no structure, with no sovereignty, this equals anxiety and overthinking and second guessing and constant analysis. And it's agonizing to the point of madness. And anyone who suffers in the mental world, anyone who's had mental health issues of any kind, understands what I'm saying. It's an invisible ache, it's an invisible agony that can't really be expressed very easily. It's in the mental world. I was in bondage. I was in bondage. I couldn't I couldn't make decisions at work without second guessing everything. I couldn't present myself in a meeting without faking a confidence. So, I mean, people who knew me at the time would say, well, she was very confident. She was very, you know, like all of that. And because I was a badass in business, you know, I was totally faking it, because I could not arrive at what is the correct way of being. I couldn't find it out. I had a knowing that the right way to be, or that there is a right way to be, first of all. That was my first error, that there is a right way to be. And the second error is, and I don't know what it is. But the clues must be out there in the world. But they're all telling me stuff. And when I try and adopt it, it doesn't work. It doesn't fit. I can't fit in anywhere. Um, the only way that I could liberate myself, the only way I could be free to dance, to sing, to move, to emote, to feel, the only way I could be free was if I drank myself shit-faced. That would bring me out of that agonizing analysis, because I just wanted to say, fuck it. I just wanted permission to say, fuck it. You know what? Right now, I don't care what you think. I don't care if I'm doing it right. Right now, I just want to be done with all of that. You know, screw it. I'm going to dance however I want to dance. Even if I look like a monster, I'm going to do it. And alcohol did that for me. Alcohol became, in my world, the friend, the safe friend, where I can express without worrying about what's being thought of me, or how I'm coming across, or all of these other things that would lock me in a headspin, and really sabotage my growth, my expression, and censor my expression, censor my love. You know, there was no outpouring of love back then. There was only this mask, which I could only take off when I drank. And so that dissonance then, this belief that, first of all, the belief that I was in bondage, that I couldn't be free, that combined with a method that I'd found to go fuck it, that became a really dangerous combination. And you might have heard the story. I'm just going to share this story just to share the effect of what alcohol would do to me and why it was so dangerous. This is from Alan Carr, who designed the easy way. This is the easy way to break addiction, the easy way to stop smoking. That was his first. And then the easy way to stop drinking was another one of his pieces. And this metaphor that he gave is very powerful. And this is how it goes. So think of a pitcher plant. A pitcher plant is a carnivorous plant which is shaped like a jug. Have I got a jug? It's kind of like this, right? So a pitcher plant is shaped like a jug, and it has a sweet nectar in the bottom of it, and it's got a little bit of sweet nectar around the top of it, and on the inside it's got these hairs that kind of point downwards, right? So like barbed almost. And the way it works is that it attracts, the sweet nectar attracts the fly, who comes along and lands and tastes the nectar. The moment they taste the nectar, a chemical thing happens in their little being, and the poison that's in the nectar becomes a code in their being that says, definitely need more of this. And so the fly can see that there's a little pool of nectar in the bottom of the pitcher plant, and it goes in. Now, if the temptation of the nectar in the plant wasn't enough, there's also these hairs that prevent it from coming back up again, should it change its mind on the way down. But it won't change its mind because it's already lost its awareness. So it's already on this slippery slope, this descent into the very poison that's then going to completely dissolve its sense of self, and it will become fodder for the pitcher plant. And that's how alcohol would get me. Just one sip, that's all I need. It's not like I'm an alcoholic. It's not like I need it. I'm just going to have one glass of wine. That's all. You know, why shouldn't I? Right? It's a really nice day, and everyone else is having a nice glass of wine out here on the pier. And fuck it, I just want to let my hair down. You know, I just want to be free. So I'm just going to have that one glass of wine. 3 bottles of wine later, down the pitcher she went, you know, and I would drink myself to unconsciousness over and over and over again. You know, I was so willing to depart from my sovereignty for the taste of freedom, just for the taste, just for that droplet, you know. So alcohol stayed with me for a very long time, even after the awakening, you know, the moment when we do remember the truth about who we are, and we do remember self-love, and we do remember that God is real and it's in me and it's everything and I can participate in. Even after we've remembered that, addiction stays. The lure of alcohol is still there. And so even though we've begun this process of becoming, 10 years later, 10 years into this process of becoming more and more and more, I carried this habit with me throughout that whole time. And I mean, I have alongside another survivor story that was going on at the same time, my husband and I decided to test whether or not it's true that all things are energy, that we really are provided for, and that we can manifest our needs and our wants using nothing but our state of being, right? Let's see if that's true. So we gave up everything and we decided to just go out into the wilderness and see what would happen. And we brought our 2 little children with us. Isn't that unreasonable? So, but what happened was we did in fact prove that that is true. And we ended up living a life of absolute miracle that it included years of homelessness, of being without home, of transcending all kinds of structure. We lived in a tent in the wilderness at one point. Wow. All the while, my addiction came with me, and that need for alcohol came with me. I wouldn't be able to process my emotions without it. I wouldn't cry without it. I wouldn't, you know, let my hair down and go for a dance without it. It was always there. Until the system, until sovereign. Because what happened then was that instead of floating around in my self-acceptance, looking for the wound that I thought I needed to heal in order to overcome this relationship with alcohol. You know, like, oh, I want to give up alcohol, so I'm going to have to find another way to emote, right? That I'm going to have to fix this problem, otherwise I can't give this up. And then, oh, that's not working, so what else is it? Okay, so I'm going to have to be more confident in real life so that I don't need alcohol for confidence. So this looking around for things that I could fix in order to overcome addiction. When I discovered sovereign and formulated sovereign, I had a structure to follow. I had a way of ascending in a sequential way instead of floating around randomly looking for things to heal. That made such a difference. It changed everything, because sovereignty is in itself freedom.
Yes, absolutely.
Now I didn't need liberating anymore. I didn't need alcohol to
Yes.
come and save the day for me, because sovereignty is inherently freedom. And then I discovered something else. And this is important. When I overcame alcohol, I put it down in July last year. So I'm coming up on 10 months. Thank you
Congratulations.
very much. Thank you. When I had the rock bottom moment that made me decide this is ridiculous, it's over, was the last time I saw my grandmother. I was drunk. That was the last time I saw my grandma. Man, that will always be a regret. You know when people say have no regrets? Crystal, I've got a few.
Oh yeah, I do too. I'm like, I
That's
don't.
one of them. Yeah.
I don't relate. Can't relate.
That is one of them. But that was it. The decision was made. I was like, it is done. And I knew, well, how will I do this? I've never been able to do this before. How shall I do this now? What's different now from before? Sovereign. That's different, because the moment I embody the knowing of sovereignty, I can tell very easily the difference between truth and falsehood. It's very, very clear in an enlightened state of mind when you're up against falsehood. And addiction is made of falsehood. You should probably have another cup of coffee. Probably.
Awesome.
Yeah. Pack of fags, maybe. Might as well. It's when you can tell the difference between truth and falsehood, then you can pick up on what the motivation is inside of you that's calling you forward, and then it loses its power immediately. Awareness is the healer. Grace is the healer. And when you approach anything, any demon, any obstacle, anything in the state of grace, it has zero power. And so overnight, it was gone. I have the last bottle of wine I ever drank. It's a candle holder, and I like it. It's pretty. I do judge a wine bottle by its label, I have to say. But but there it is. It was very, very easy. Yeah, it was extremely easy. That's the power of sovereignty, personal spiritual sovereignty, to know who you are truly. Because then you can tell straight away what you're not. Here's a secret that I don't think a lot of people know, and I don't know how well this may be received. Perhaps it's controversial, I'm not sure. It has been hard for some of my clients to swallow, but it's also very liberating, which is that I've discovered that addiction isn't something you have. It isn't in you. You don't have an addiction. Addiction is a universal frequency, like joy. It's an idea in the mind of God. So if it fits, if there's a fit in your consciousness, then it will seem to be in you. It will seem that I am this. This is in me. I am a part of this. But it's not the case. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the world. It belongs to the universe. The thing is that some people who are naturally more disposed to joy are more joyful, and some people are naturally more disposed to addiction, more likely to carry that with them. But I want everyone to know that it isn't you at all. It's everything. It's in everything. And so we have the sovereignty to change our vibration so that that frequency of addiction doesn't have a place to hold in our mind, in our consciousness, in our decision making, so that we can make our choices from love and not from this frequency saying that you're too broken to be whole without this thing that you need. But I recognize I recognize the addiction frequency on the daily, Crystal. Even though I'm not drinking, I can feel it saying you should write another chapter, just one more chapter, just write one more chapter. Right. I can see my daughter wants to play with me, but I just need to write one more chapter. I can feel addiction every single day.
Yes.
It hasn't gone away.
Yeah.
But I am sovereign.
Awesome.
It is no longer the king of my life. I am sovereign.
That is
And
powerful.
it can be it can be a co-partner, not a co-partner. It can be that annoying fly in the background
Right.
sometimes that you really wish you could swap, but
Yeah.
it seems God has other ideas. These mosquitoes keep coming, I keep swapping them, but you know what I mean?
Right.
It stops having power. And that's what I think
Absolutely.
true recovery is. True
Mm.
recovery is becoming sovereign.
Love that. Love that. That's awesome. And there's so, I think a lot of people think that being sober means it's not, you're not going to hear it or it's going to disappear. But like you said, and I've been sober and I'm the rainbow of addictions and, I'm in 12-step programs and stuff like that. So, but it's there. And it's not,
Mm.
being sober isn't just, oh, okay, I'm going to be sober once. No, it's like constantly choosing to be sober and sometimes several times a day. I mean, it's work. It's
Yeah,
work.
yeah, yeah,
But it's exactly like you said, standing in
yeah,
poverty and, or as, other people say, like higher power or whatever, but being in the connectedness of who we are, that we're not separate from higher power is, yeah, it's
yeah,
so powerful. It's so powerful.
yeah.
So how do you know these things? How do you know? Like where does it come from? Like how do you know? Because you shared such
Well,
amazing stuff. Yeah.
um, how do I know? That's a. I am very glad that you asked that question because not a lot of people ever really have the courage to command demonstration. Give me the truth about how you know this. Knowing is not believing. Knowing isn't recalling information that you hold. Knowing is an embodied experience of something. To know love, to know friendship. What is it that you know? So the question, how do we know anything, it always comes down to experience. It's my idea that it wasn't my original idea, but it's my knowing, it's my belief that the universe is this becoming fabric of love, which means that there isn't a linear time track that we're following. There is only now and now and now, which means that all of the reality of life is experience, that we can only know the things that we experience, and everything else is conjecture. Everything else is imagination. Even if the scientists give me the facts or my friends gave me the info on very good authority, it's still conjecture, it's still intellectual stuff. Knowing comes when it's embodied, and that's only through experience. Of
Mm.
course, we can choose to experience without embodying lessons or wisdom or whatever else it might be. But with spiritual maturity, as we grow up, that wisdom comes more easily. Some people say we download more effectively, we reveal more effectively. And so that's how I know. It's through sovereign meta view of truth, of life.
That
Yes,
is amazing.
yeah.
Elizabeth, you are incredible. Thank you so much for being on this show. Is there anything else you'd like to let people, say to the listeners before we end? It's just, you've been extraordinary. Just so honored to have you here.
Thank you very much. There is actually, and I should have printed it off so I don't have to now go and type in my thingy-majig, but I will because this is lovely. This is absolutely lovely. Remember how I said that alcohol had become like a friend, a
Mm-hmm.
safe place, and what we get from true friendship, and the sort of um, uh, I don't mean the sort of transactional friendships that we often have,
Right.
acquaintances or colleagues or whatever. I mean true friendship. What we get in true friendship is freedom. We
Mm-hmm.
get freedom to express our joy and freedom to express our creativity. We get freedom also to agonize and to vent without fear of judgment or suspicion. And alcohol became that friend for me. And I think that probably most people who have engaged with addiction did so because for a while it gave relief. It gave the feeling of more freedom in some way. So this is what I would like to read so that we can
Wonderful.
understand true friendship,
Mm,
and so that we can begin to align with the ultimate freedom that comes with total belonging, right? That's
mm,
what friendship is, belonging. We belong together.
mm,
And if there isn't someone in your life that can offer that safe space, that can truly meet all of those qualifying coordinates where you can feel full up and totally worthy, then know that that is still true for you in the universe, in the cosmic womb, in God, in your relationality with the ultimate connectedness. And you can access that. And this is lovely, this bit about friendship. This was written by the Cistercian monk Elred of Rivaux.
mm.
About 1,000 years, he wrote these words:
Wow.
how happy, how carefree, how joyful you are if you have a friend with whom you may talk as freely as with yourself, to whom you neither fear to confess any fault nor blush at revealing any spiritual progress, to whom you may entrust all the secrets of your heart and confide all your plans. And what is more delightful than to so unite spirit to spirit, and so to make one out of two, that is neither fear of boasting nor dread of suspicion. A friend's correction does not cause pain, and a friend's praise is not considered flattery. Crystal, I just think these words are so lovely.
Wow, that is absolutely beautiful.
Isn't
Oh,
it?
wow. That was beautiful. That was a heart kiss right there. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for that. Oh,
Total belonging. You know, when we find that space of grace, we
mm,
don't need the substances or the behaviors
yes.
or the cultural paradigms or the systems of being that they say we need, because we
Mhm.
arrive at self-acceptance and belonging.
Ah,
Isn't that
it's
that's
absolutely
sovereignty?
beautiful. Yes, yes, I love it. Elizabeth, thank you so much. So aligned with, your conversations of sovereignty and the returning or the remembering of who we are. So thank you so much for being here. And everybody, there's going to be links below where you can check out Elizabeth and what she's up to. Definitely go to them. Definitely check her out. She has beautiful energy, as you can see, or if you're just listening to the podcast, as you can hear. And
Mm.
so thank you so much. And thank you, everybody. We rise together.